Hey, I'm Jessica Eturralde. You can see my name on one of these sites with personality.com. And today we're talking about how to be interesting and go from rejected to respected. Sounds nice, doesn't it? So, first of all, when we're talking about the subject of being interesting, that's a very broad thing to accomplish, right? What does that even mean? And the thing that I love about this subject, and I get really excited about, is that it's very universal. So, being a television personality, of course, what you see a lot is how we are conveying on camera, right? And for many of you, you work with a camera, and so you're always thinking about how can I be interesting on camera. But the other side of that, there is another side to that that is probably even more important, and that's being interesting in person. Whether, it could be on paper, it could be exchange of email, but also face to face. And again, the thing that I love about being interesting, this topic, is that it is very universal. And you can use it in your business, you can use it with any relationship whatsoever. So, yay, fun stuff. Okay, so you want to be interesting. And today I'm going to be speaking day one, a little tidbit for you. I'm doing a live stream challenge with myself. And so I'm going to be live streaming all week this week. And since the topic of being interesting is so broad, I'm going to be covering that in a lot of depth. So I'm going to make it really crunchy. I'm going to make it super simple for you. And just today I'm going to cover some general things. And throughout the week I'm going to get a little bit more deeper, even include some hacks and some tips and even some apps, some fun stuff that you can include to make things uniquely interesting for you and you can stand out from the crowd. Hi, everybody. And okay, so day one, you want to be more interesting. Well, one of the things you can do is absolutely you want to broaden your sphere of influence. Hi, Amanda. You see, oftentimes we have a sphere of influence that we don't notice it, but it's somewhat limited, even in our business, because we have a tendency to kind of hover around that area of our niche. And one of the things that I do to seem more interesting is I get a lot of information coming in. I'd say if you're in the creative space, take some time to maybe read a book or listen to some podcasts or someone in the tech space, and vice versa. You know, when I was a kid, I grew up in a very small town, and I was always very curious about everything around me and beyond where I lived. So I used to read encyclopedias. I know that's that's kind of nerdy, but I just wanted to share that. And I'm not suggesting that you too should read some encyclopedias, but my point is this. People think I'm interesting sometimes because I've taken the time I study music, I study dance, I've studied intercultural communication and languages and things like that. And my point to that is saying is the more you take in, the more you can give out. Now, so my challenge to you on that would be to take one topic. It could be one tiny thing as simple as taking a Thursday night dance or kickboxing class, or like I said, listening to a podcast or reading a book. Hey, hi Chester. Hi Kim. And actually taking those things and giving yourself a different sphere of influence. So again, you're getting more in so you can give more out. And that will already make you very interesting. Another thing I'd like to add is that often we get a little stuck in kind of the pop culture scene. And okay, that's okay, because I know we can talk about Beyonce's baby or whatever else is happening in the pop culture scene. But let's challenge ourselves to get a little outside of that and just move beyond that. Even subjects that you're not interested in. I'll give you an example. I don't like football. There, I said it. I don't like American football. It just doesn't interest me. Okay, so don't patronize me. Okay, I'm just not that interested in it. But hey Jessica, everyone's saying hey, hello. But I've learned to respect the game by taking a little time to learn how it comes together. And it just so happens I have 3 boys, so that helps. They're starting to get into it. So I'm giving it a chance to listen and understand the game. And this makes me interesting in a conversation like where it would come up instead of just being like, I don't know, I don't do that. I don't like football. You know, I can actually engage a little bit and even respect the conversation. Now, that's not being fake. That's me having a little bit of respect for the conversation and being a part of it. So I'm not excluded. And that's really important. You want to be able to stay in a conversation, even in a small way, especially whether that's one-to-one or in a group. Okay, so we talked about broadening our sphere of influence. We talked about, let's see, reading encyclopedias, getting more information in, as well as experimenting with things that are different from our sphere of influence. Hi, Chris. Thanks. Thanks, Rockstar. Yes, I love it. Keep up the great work. Good. I'm just getting started. So, all right. We did those things. Another thing that will make you very interesting and very memorable is to listen more. So many times in conversation, we are listening to someone, especially, oh my gosh, you know those conversations with people that just make your heart like, oh, yeah, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's you. What am I going to say? Don't mess up, right? Hi, Brian. What we naturally do is while they're talking, we start thinking about what we're going to say next, right? Because we're like, I better say something good, and I want them to remember me. We have all these things going in our head, right? When the best thing that we could do is just listen. You see, guys, when someone is talking, they're conveying something that's much more than what they're actually saying. You got to look beyond that. Just like with your business, there's an adage that's said, and it says, you don't buy, wait, let me think of the adage. You don't sell a drill, you sell the hole. If someone comes into your store and they are wanting to buy a drill, well, you sell the experience. You know, why do they need a drill, right? They need a hole. Well, what's the situation, and et cetera, et cetera. Conversation is the same way. When people are speaking to you and dialoguing, you want to listen and read between the lines. What is it that they are needing to get out of the conversation? When you do that, one, you come back genuinely, you're sincere, and it's not even forced or fake because you're actually sincere, right? And two, you can add depth to the conversation. You can even ask questions that allow them to go deeper and really get to what you should be focusing on, which is what this person wants to get out of the conversation. In some cases, we need to connect that back to something that we need out of the conversation. So we're always looking for ways to read between the lines and contribute to a conversation so we can give something and it can be reciprocal. And that is how you become memorable. Think about it when you're in a conversation with someone who their responses are more like, oh, wow, that had to be really hard for you. Can you tell me a little bit more about X and Y? Doesn't that make you feel like you're being listened to? And typically when that happens, people walk away going, oh, goodness, so-and-so was so interesting because, oh, like they just got what I was saying. They asked all these great questions, et cetera, and it goes on and on. So, all right, change your sphere of influence, expand it, cross over into things that you normally wouldn't do. Because in that sphere of influence, often we get stuck in kind of the same circle of doing things, right? So we need something, if you want something that's disruptive and gives you disruptive ideas in business, you need something coming from somewhere else. And then the second thing is to listen, read between the lines and what people are saying so you can figure out what is it they want to get out of the conversation so you can genuinely give that and be able to tie it into building and cultivating a relationship that is beyond just what can you do for me. Hi, Kristen. Okay, another thing about being interesting, and remember this is very high level stuff later in the week. If you just hit subscribe now so you get the updates, Later in the week, I'm going to be getting even more specific on very tangible ways that you can be more interesting, both in camera, in person, in your business, in your relationships, because it's universal. So, okay, what else do we have? I have some notes over here, my little thing here. So, oh yes, kick the energy up. When we talk, oftentimes we have some people that they just talk and they're just like this, and it's not very exciting, especially if it's on camera, if it's a video. So sometimes, yes, we get very fixated on delivering the information that we forget to kick it up a little bit with the energy. And okay, for you folks who just heard that and said, well, I'm not a very energetic, expressionistic person. What does this lady mean? It could be as simple as slowing down a little bit and changing the tone of your voice. See how I did that? I just slowed down. Sometimes it's as much as breaking the angle of how your face moves, putting some hands into the shot. Not all the time, because this would be really creepy if I talked to you this way. You wouldn't do this in person either. But to use your hands a little bit for some variation. If you were the opposite and you use your hands too much, all right, you can gently hold on to your hands in front, or sometimes having something in your hand will help with that. Be yourself. I know, that's like the most cliche thing I could say. You should just be yourself, and then we'll wish for world peace and we'll hold puppies and you just be yourself. But it's said so much because there is so much truth to that. First of all, you have to like who you are. You have to be comfortable with yourself and your message, your business, even personally, all of that self-development and whatnot. When you like yourself, it shows. When you doubt yourself, when you don't like yourself, it shows. And I'm going to say, if you're sitting there thinking, all right, I want to be interesting, but there's nothing interesting about me, I encourage you, one, write down the things that are interesting to you and see how you can pull that into your business and how can you make that interesting to other people. If you do that and you still don't think you're interesting, you think you're a very dull person, well, then we need to go back to number one, which is change your sphere of influence. Start disrupting your own sphere of influence. If all you're getting in is one specific subject, again, I recommend Thursday night dance, kickboxing, something like that. If you're in creative, listen to a podcast or read a book of someone in tech, or vice versa. If you're in tech, pull something from the creative realm and work in it. You want to start introducing new things to your own character, your own self-development. And again, like I said earlier, what comes in will come out in your content and in your conversations. Hi, Joey. Hi, Bob. And lastly, this is my favorite, because you know what? Everybody hates this advice, but it's some of the best advice that I could ever give you. So I have to say it. And that is practice. Whether you practice in the mirror or you practice on camera, those of you who want to get better on camera, you got to start practicing on camera, and then you got to watch it. Ooh, this is like really mean, isn't it? Then you got to watch yourself. So yes, you do have to watch yourself. And you know what? You're not alone if you absolutely hate that. If you can barely bear the thought of watching yourself on camera, you are not alone. I have so many clients who hate it. And I remember when I first got into television, when my show would air, I didn't even want to be in the room. Like, I wanted to see because I'm like, I'm on TV, but then I just could hardly even, it was so nerve-wracking. Like, my back would start sweating and I'd just be like, oh gosh. So yourself, right, is a subject. All right, we take math, we take arithmetic, and we take all these different courses and all these different self-development courses. But hi, Pamela, good to see you again. We take all these courses, but then we forget ourself on the external is the subject. How our body language is, how the pace of our speech, to even the things that we say, all these mannerisms that we do, we are the subject, and we cannot study ourselves from the inside. Because even if you've actually heard yourself in a recording, right, you don't sound the same on the recording as you do, as you think you do, right? It's the same concept, and voice instructors will tell you that there's something different that happens with the voice that goes out into the air versus it resonating in your head, right? Hi Fu, hi Sneha. And so it's the same thing. We see ourselves differently than we actually are, right? So the only way to study yourself externally, hello, is video. In the mirror, that works too to a certain degree, but you definitely need to do it on video if you are wanting to improve your presence on camera. And again, yes, when I first started television and I started just watching myself, and I hated it. It was so torturous. I need like a glass of wine and chocolate-covered pretzels just to get through it. But, you know, there's a funny thing. I had this really ridiculous habit. Well, I say it's ridiculous. It's not that ridiculous. But to me, because it was myself, we're our harshest critics, right? My biggest thing that I would do was I would interview someone like this, right? And I would have the mic. And when I handed over the mic to the other person, like I would make a comment or a question and they would answer, etc. For some reason, I had this nervous habit of like doing this thing with my mouth. I would be like, especially if I thought something was funny, but even not, like I just had, I guess it was just this nervous reaction that I would, it's not even licking your lips, but it's weird. And you know, I know it's not fair to say, but if it was a guy, it'd probably be pretty creepy. I don't know, like, hello. But anyway, if I wasn't watching myself on camera, I wouldn't catch that I do that, right? And obviously that's not something that I want to do. So in studying myself on camera, I got to eliminate things that I don't like. And then there were some things that I saw and I was like, oh, I like it when I do that. I like how that looks. Okay, more of that and less of that. And that's what happens to everyone who does this. You study yourself like a subject, you eliminate the things that you don't like, and you capitalize on the things that you do like. And that works whether you are speaking on camera or if you are talking one-on-one to an influencer, to a crowd, even just having any type of conversation, really. You got to study yourself so you know how others perceive you. Okay, so that's pretty much what I have for you today. I have a lot more tips. I get some very specific and very crunchy, quickly applicable tips for you this week. And yes, because I'm challenging myself to live stream every day this week. Yes, I can do it. Okay, so please subscribe. I'm assuming subscribe button is like down here. Otherwise, I'm doing this for nothing. I'm just going to point in all directions so you know, and you'll have plenty of time to kindly subscribe. If you want more updates, if you want to become more interesting on camera and in person, because that permeates everything that you do, your relationships, your business, etc. And in the meantime, if you like what you heard today, please like this and share it as well. I will see you tomorrow when we will be talking more in detail and maybe even a few apps to make your videos interesting. Okay, ciao. Thanks for coming.